The unseen forces of economics. How norms and morality shape every purchase. Hey everyone! Ever wonder why buying a few tomatoes at the farmer's market can feel more complicated than it looks? Today, we're peeling back the layers on the social norms and moral values that guide economic behavior, sometimes more powerfully than the law itself.
That's right, think about it. There's no formal penalty for cutting in line, yet the shame you feel if you do is intense. That's a clue to how unwritten rules can shape everything we do, even simple everyday purchases.
In this episode, we'll cover 1. How fairness and trust factor into our decisions as seen in classic experiments like the ultimatum game. 2. E.P. Thompson's moral economy concept, an unwritten code that keeps prices and practices in check. 3. Contrasting views from James Scott and Samuel Popkin on whether reciprocity is about survival or self-interest. 4. Mark Granovetter's idea that norms are embedded in broader cultural and institutional frameworks, think professional ethics and business conduct. 5. How cultural and religious traditions like rules on charging interest can reshape financial systems.
And to round it off, we'll tackle some action items for future exploration, like how globalization and technology are shaking up moral economies around the world. So buckle up. Let's start with the previously mentioned social norms. Even though they're unwritten, they carry a lot of weight. Shame is a particularly strong enforcement mechanism. No one wants to be the person everyone's silently judging.
Absolutely. This intense emotional response keeps us in line. That's how a seemingly small rule like waiting your turn can be far more compelling than any official law. When it comes to fairness and trust, few examples beat the ultimatum game. One player gets a sum of money and decides how to split it with a second player. But, if the second player rejects the offer, nobody gets anything.
Rational self-interest says offer as little as possible, but people routinely split the money more evenly, around 50-50. That shows we're hardwired to value fairness even at a personal cost.
And this leads us to an action item, exploring how different cultures define and implement fairness in their transactions. Some societies consider 50-50 the gold standard, others have different benchmarks. Understanding this can really enrich our economic models. So where does the idea of a just price or fair deal come from? E.P. Thompson's concept of the moral economy says that communities have an unwritten code about fair economic practices, like not profiteering during shortages.
It's not just about supply and demand. Communities can collectively push back when they sense exploitation. That's a powerful cultural force that formal economics often struggles to measure.
Which brings us to another action item. Research methods for quantifying intangible factors like trust and fairness in our economic models. Because if these forces are so influential, how do we track them effectively? Reciprocity, doing favors, sharing resources, can look selfless. James Scott views it as a communal strategy for survival. If everyone's safe, each person has a better chance.
Meanwhile, Samuel Popkin believes even altruistic acts might have a calculated edge. By helping others now, you bank social capital for the future.
So, is it about subsistence ethics or strategic self-interest? Maybe both. And that leads to another action item, examining case studies of communities using informal norms like neighborly dispute resolution versus formal legal systems like courts. How do different approaches compare? Mark Granovetter adds another layer. Economic norms don't float in isolation. They're woven into larger cultural and institutional frameworks like professional ethics codes, religious guidelines, or centuries-old traditions.
Take religious rules about lending money or charging interest. That can drastically shift how banks operate in those communities. Or think about the ethical codes in medicine and law shaping how professionals set fees or negotiate deals.
This also raises our next action item, studying the relationship between professional ethics codes and economic behavior in various fields. Are these codes effective in practice? How do they evolve with changing technology? Diving deeper, cultural and religious traditions can either reinforce or challenge mainstream economic thinking. Some faiths prohibit interest, influencing banking practices worldwide. Others focus on charity or mutual aid, reshaping markets and community structures.
Now, with globalization and rapid technological changes, these norms are constantly adapting, which is why another action item is to investigate the impact of globalization and tech on moral economies, from crowdfunding models to e-commerce platforms that transcend local boundaries.
So how do all these pieces fit together? Our economic lives aren't just about chasing the highest profit, they're shaped by norms, trust, cultural traditions and moral values that run deeper than spreadsheets.
Exactly. Next time you're deciding whether to haggle for those tomatoes, remember, there's a hidden web of social codes around fairness, reciprocity, and community well-being. The invisible strings might be pulling more strongly than you think.
If this piqued your curiosity, smash that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more insights into how economics, culture, and morality all intersect.
And keep in mind, economics is really about people, not just numbers. Understanding these hidden social currents can help us build more just and adaptable systems. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.